take 2 of filming this because I can't find the footage from when I originally filmed it. I swear I looked a lot cuter in the first video. Honestly, my hair was better, the outfit was better, but we're just gonna do it because I've got to get this video up. Hello my loves, thank you for joining me. It's Kirsten and we are doing 30 books that I want to read before I turn 30. So I've just turned 29 as of when this video is actually live, and I decided that I would take part in the trend that is to read 30 books before you turn 30. So these are books that I have now put on a high priority to read within a year. I've just seen lots of people do this. It always seems like a lot of fun, and it will be good to reflect on this when I turn 30 to see how many of these books I actually read. But without further ado, I do have a list of books to get through. A lot of them I already own, but a few I don't, so we're going to start off with those. So the first one, which honestly I'm kind of scared and a bit worried about whether I should have even put it on this list, but that is Fellowship of the Ring by J.R.R. Tolkien. Now I've seen all the films. I loved them, I grew up watching them, my dad would take me to cinema to see them. I just need to read the book, but I'm scared. So that is one of the ones that I do want to get read, but I've just heard so many bad things about like the descriptions being really dense and stuff, but it's a staple in the fantasy genre, so I have to. We also have If We Were Villains by M.L. Rio, and this is a dark academia book. Dark academia is a genre that I have had a love-hate relationship with, but I have heard good things about this one, so I would like to actually get to this one. I don't know too much what it's about. I think it has some Shakespearean influences. I'm not 100%. Then we have The Blade Itself by Joe Abercrombie. I actually think there's going to be a readathon for this book that Becca in the Books and Ashley from A Frolic Through Fiction are going to be part hosting with their catch-up-a-thon that they do every so often. So I think they've said that this one is going to be the next one, so I might just take part in that. This one is just a fantasy book where I believe we're following 3 different characters. I don't know too much about it except for the fact that apparently all the characters are morally grey. The first book is quite slow, which is why I've been putting it off, but I feel like if I'm taking part in a readathon I can actually, you know, watch all their thoughts on that, and I think it will be more interesting. Then we have Daughter of the Forest by Juliet Marillier. This is a book that I've been wanting to get for ages but just been struggling to find a copy now. I think they've redone a cover and that's why, but it just sounds amazing. I've heard so many people talk about it, mainly from Jean. I'll have a YouTube channel linked below, and she always talks about this book, about how beautiful it is and everything. So Juliet Marillier again is another staple within fantasy that I've just never read any of her books, and this is the place that I definitely want to start. Then we have Hand on the Wall by Maureen Johnson. This is a YA murder mystery. I've read the first 2, well technically I've read the first one, listened to the second one, but I do enjoy this series. We're following a girl who wants nothing more than to basically be Sherlock Holmes. She attends this really prestigious school for very smart children, but it's a school that has a mystery surrounded it, and she says that she's going to solve it. So you have this overarching mystery of what happened in this school, at the same time as each book has its own little murder mystery going on as well. It is really enjoyable, it's a lot of fun, so I do want to just finish off that first trilogy, and then I believe there's another book that's come out that doesn't follow the school but follows the main character, so definitely need to get on that. Then we have a couple of classics. We've got Peter Pan by J.M. Barrie. I've heard mixed reviews about this one, saying how it's really quite brutal and a lot of people don't like it, but I have read some retellings, and if I read a retelling I want to read the original to see where they got their ideas, what things they've changed from it, so that's one for that. And then also The Little Mermaid by Hans Christian. Again, exactly the same reason. I would like to read the original story because I've read so many different retellings. I've seen the Disney adaptation. I know the original is meant to be a lot more brutal and everything, but it is one that highly interested in. And then the last one of books that I haven't yet acquired is The Odyssey by Homer. I read the Iliad and I really enjoyed it. Greek mythology is something that I'm desperate to get more into. It's something that I really enjoy. I know that the Odyssey is going to be repetitive. I know it's going to be a bit of a harder read to get into, but I've already read the Iliad, and a lot of people do say that they prefer the Odyssey over the Iliad. I'm glad I read it in that order though, because the Iliad is about the Trojan War, the Odyssey is about someone on the way home from the Trojan War. So I feel like that was definitely the better way to read it in, but it is time. I do want to get that book read, and I feel like if I don't put it on a list like this, I'm going to keep putting it off. You know, I am doing this a lot quicker than last time, I think. But I do have a pile of books that's just spread out on my bed, which my cat is not happy about. But okay, stop stalling. let's get on with it. As this is in no particular order, it's literally just a pile on my bed that we're just going to go through. Starting off with a book I recently acquired, and that's Foundrayside by Robert Jackson Bennett. This is a fantasy book that I have been really interested in, but for some reason, as soon as I received it in the post, I was then like, I don't know if I want to read this. So it's good that I've chucked it on this list. I actually had it on here originally when I first filmed this, but I didn't own it. It is one that it sounds really, really good. And I know that if you do like things like Brandon Sanderson, things like that, then this is going to be a good one for it. It's set in this world where you can manipulate artifacts and stuff. Not everybody, but some people, I believe. And we're following a character who then gets offered this job to steal an artifact, and she thinks like, oh, it's an amazing job, I'm going to do it, but then ends up being sucked into this bigger plot that's going on, and she's now at the centre of it all, and it's a bit dangerous for her and everything. I'm doing a terrible job of explaining this. I haven't really read the back. I've literally just been going off of what people said about it. I mainly picked it up because of Elliot from Elliot Brooks. Again, everyone that I'm naming will be linked below. And also Reagan from Peruse Project. Again, I'll have her linked below. She also really recommends this book. So those two are like big fantasy YouTubers. I'm going to trust their opinion and pick up this book. Then on the complete opposite end of the genre spectrum, we have The Midnight Library by Matt Haig. This is a book that honestly I'm putting on this list because if I haven't read it by the time I'm 30, I'm going to unhaul this book, or, well, give it back to my mum, see if she wants it back or not. If not, then it will go to a charity shop. This is a book that had a lot of hype when it first came out. It is a contemporary, which isn't something I would normally read, and my mum said that she liked it, but it wasn't anything that blew her away. We're literally following this woman who has an opportunity to see how her past choices could have shaped and changed her life. And you know what, yes, but also doesn't sound like my sort of thing. But it is one that so many people have said that they really enjoyed, so yeah, I'm putting it on this list just because of the fact that if I haven't read it by then, I will be giving it back. That's what some of these books are. Some of these books are a prompt to be like, okay, am I going to read this by the time I'm 30? If I'm not, get rid of it. Or just reminders that, hey, we've got this book on our TBR, stop forgetting about it. Then we have a sci-fi. Honestly, the genre stuff is all over the place, but we have a sci-fi, and that's Chilling Effect by Valerie Valdez, and I picked this up literally because of Thoughts on Times. She hauled this book. I saw the cover. She said this tagline. I ordered it. Simple. It literally says kidnappers, alien emperors, psychic cats, and she's out of coffee. Honestly, it was the psychic cat part and the fact that there is a cat in a box in space. Perfect. That's all I needed to know. I think this is meant to be more of like a funny weirdness, spaceness. I don't know. I know I like YA sci-fi, but adult sci-fi is not something I've really branched into. But this sounds like if I'm going to like adult sci-fi, it's going to be something like this. So this is, again, just a reminder to remember to pick this book up because I am looking forward to it, but I keep putting it off because it's outside my comfort zone. Then we have The Way of Shadows by Brent Weeks. This is one that I'm pretty sure I read years and years ago when I was really young. I say really young, I was probably about maybe 16, I want to say. And this is a book that I don't remember too much about it. I just remember one particular scene, which is where our assassin sees his best friend and she's now got a really bad scar on her face, and he's just like, I'm going to kill the person that did that. Whether that's actually in this book, I don't know, but that is just a scene that I have connected to this book. I really want to read it. It is a trilogy. I've got books 1 and 3 because it was in a charity shop. Brent Weeks, again, is another big fantasy author that I really want to actually get involved with, see if I like his works and stuff. So this is where I'm starting off with because I'm pretty sure I have read this one, but yeah, we'll see. If any of these books you think are really good, then please let me know in the comments below so I can prioritise some of these as before with other TBR videos that I've been doing. We also have A Lady Hotspur by Tessa Gratton. Now, Tessa Gratton is an author that I feel like does not get enough notice. I adored her other book, which was The Queens of Innislear, and that was another Shakespeare retelling, and so is this one. She tends to do different twists on it. I adored her first book. I think her writing is beautiful and lyrical. Descriptions can be a bit heavy at times, but I know that going into this it's going to be beautiful writing. This one I think is a bit more of a gender twist and everything, and it's all based on different Shakespeare stories. So it will be interesting. Like I said, I liked her previous book. I never really hear anyone talk about her as an author, but I do think she has amazing writing, and if retellings is something that you're interested in, do give her a try. Speaking of retellings, we have Mina and the Undead by Amy McCall, and this is a retelling on Dracula, following Mina. I don't know whether vampires are going to play a big part in this. I know it's a YA retelling, and I do believe it's just got a lot of humour and that in there. It's one that I picked up ages ago. I haven't seen anyone really talking about this book at all. I would like to give it a try. I think, as I've said in my previous TBR videos, this is probably going to be my October read. It just seems like a YA spooky fun time. Let's change it up with a bit of manga, and we have Magical Girl Apocalypse by Kentaro Sato. This is not one that I've ever seen anyone really talk about, to be fair. I picked it up because of the cover. Beautiful. Absolutely love it. I'm not going to talk too much about it because my manga TBR would have gone out before this one, but that is one that I would like to get to. And the other manga that's on this one is The Promised Neverland by Kei Shirai Amposka. I'm sorry, I'm terrible at pronouncing names. I should really work on that. Again, not going to talk about it too much because it was in that previous video, but another one that I would like to get to soon. It just seems like it's going to be a really fun, wholesome book, but I've also heard there's monsters in it, so we'll see. Oh, you know what? Let's get the graphic novel out of the way as well. So we've got Lady McKenna. Again, not going to get too much into this one. I'm just intrigued because it's steampunk Victorian. Perfect. That's all I needed to know, but I keep putting it off. I've had this on my TBR for like over a year now. I need to get to it soon, and there's no excuse because it's so small. Whizzing through those ones. Honestly, I'm gonna not be going into depth with any of these books in case you haven't noticed, because I have been doing TBR videos lately, so you guys have probably seen these books a lot. Let's go for a YA fantasy. This time we are going for The Girl of Fire and Thorns by Ray Carson. This, I believe, is the start of a trilogy, and we're following someone that has power, or is meant to have power, but she doesn't have it and she needs to find it, but if she does she could die young and stuff. I mean, it sounds interesting. I haven't heard many people talk about it. YA fantasy is something that I'm slowly getting out of, so again, this is just a reminder to be like, okay, we do actually have this book on your TBR, please remember to pick it up. One that I want to get to soon, but again, a bit intimidated by, and that is Six Tudor Queens by Alison Weir. This is Catherine of Aragon, the true queen. I really enjoy historical fiction, specifically Tudor period. It's just something that I do put off a lot of. I mean, historical fiction, if it's a retelling, yes, I'm there for it. But historical fiction in general as a genre, I tend to find is a little bit slow, and it's a bit like a classic. You need to be in the mood for it. So this is one that I really do want to get to, and I know that Chris over at Chris Reviews wants to know my opinions on it because, again, she also loves the Tudor time period. We tried doing a buddy read and I absolutely failed at that. Honestly, I'm the worst person for buddy reads, but it's something that I would like to get to soon, and hopefully is a good one. I have heard good things about Alison Weir. A lot of people do recommend her to me whenever I say that I'm interested in historical fiction of the Tudor time period, because she has actually done books on all of the 6 Tudor queens. So yeah, I do need to read this one and get to it. Let's go back to fantasy. We have The Ninth Reign by Jenna Williams. I picked this up because of Elliot Brooks, who non-stop gushes about this trilogy, and it was at a time where I wanted to get more fantasy books on my TBR because I was running very low. Fantasy is always my backup genre, something I'm always going to go back to, so I always want to make sure I've got a few. So I decided to pick up a few of first in a series, because that way if I do like them, it's a series that I can actually continue on with. But I think I do need to slow down on the fantasy book buying because I have a lot of series to start off with now, so if I like them all, that's already a lot of books to get. So but yeah, this one's in it. I know there's elves and witches and humans and potential wars and stuff. It sounds exactly like what I want. Going back into more of a contemporary or, well, historical fiction, we have Memoirs of a Geisha by Arthur Golden. I have mentioned how when I read this book, I want to pick up the book by the person that this book was actually based on and her version of events and read them one after each other. Maybe not one after each other, but definitely in the same month, because I want to be able to do that comparison between the two. As much as this is on so many people's lists of like amazing books, my work colleague's favourite book, I am aware of the fact that it has been westernized a lot and the person it was based on did not agree with it, so I need to, for the sake of integrity for myself, read both at the same time. I cannot read one without the other, so I definitely need to get that book as well. So by this, technically it's 31 books to read before I'm 30, but to me they go together because I will be reading them in the same period of time. Let's go for a classic. We've got Virginia Woolf's Mrs. Dalloway. This is one that I'm super excited to pick up because of Claire Fenby. Claire Fenby is one of my favourite YouTubers. I just love her channel and her aesthetic and just everything about it so much. And this is one of her absolute favourite books. So when I saw this in a second-hand bookshop, I had to pick it up. It's a short classic. It's not going to take me long at all. So yeah, it's one that is high up there. And I think it's literally just following one person and their thoughts in one day. I don't know, it just, the way Claire Fenby talks about it, she does so much of a better job than me. It just makes you want to pick it up. So that's that one. Then we have a reread. I've only got two, well technically three because of Way of Shadows, but I don't remember it, so it's gonna be like reading that one for the first time. But I've got two rereads and I adored Name of the Wind by Patrick Rothfuss when I first read it. I think I've read this book twice, adored it, maybe 3 times. Honestly, I love it. But I've been putting off reading it because I want the third book. But I think I'm at that point now where I've just got to realise that the third book probably is never coming. And it's so devastating, but I still do love this book. So I need to reread it and see whether it actually stands up to my favourite fantasy book of all time, because there's been a lot of fantasy books that I've been reading lately that I've really, really adored. Since joining YouTube, I have had so many good fantasy book recommendations that I feel like I need to reread this to see, does this one still hold that favourite fantasy spot for me, because it has been a little while since I've reread this. But this, we're following Kvothe. You're following him as he grows up from a young child when his parents are murdered to him on the streets trying to get by, to then weaseling his way into this school where you can learn all sorts of things and technically a bit of magic. It's very good, very lyrical writing, absolutely adore it. So yeah, I need to reread it to see if it still holds up. Then we have 2 Agatha Christie books, and that's literally because once I finish my Sherlock Holmes read through, I want to start on Agatha Christie. So we have Agatha Christie, The Tuesday Murder Clubs, which is some short stories about Miss Marple. And we also have The Murder at the Vicarage. This one is the first book in the Miss Marple series, and actually there is a third one that I want to get, which is The Crooked House, which think should have been on that list when I was saying about books to buy. That one's actually a standalone, but I have decided that I will read the standalone, but I also want to start with Miss Marple before I start on her other series of books, mainly because of the Thursday Murder Club and wanting to see whether this title has anything to do with that book. I feel like it does, like has inspired Richard Osman's books, because Joyce is one of the characters in this and Joyce is a character in the Thursday Murder Clubs. So I feel like, yeah. So that's the main reason why I want to. And then also, as I said, Crooked House, which is a standalone. And I feel like I would love to start off with that one because I feel like it's a good place to start off with, just trying someone's work as a standalone. But I feel like this one's probably going to do it for me just because I'm so excited about it, and I do love a short story collection. So we'll see. Let me know out of the 3 which one you think I should start off with, if you've read any of them. Then we have a recent purchase, which is Dangerous Alliance by Jenna Key Cohen. This I literally picked up because it's how a lady that is with her family who is struggling is literally just armed with her Jane Austen books and is going to try and sort things out. I don't know, it just sounds fun. It's Jane Austen inspired. That's all I needed to know. Plus, you know, gorgeous pink cover. Perfect. Love it. And I wanted something that I know that I'm going to be reading soon, so I can actually feel like I've accomplished something, because in all honesty I'm probably going to be picking this up in summer. It sounds like the perfect read for that. Then we have Notre Dame de Paris by Victor Hugo, and this is all about the Hunchback of Notre Dame and the original story behind it all. Again, as I said earlier, I like reading the original classics behind everything, so this is one of them. I just keep forgetting that I've got it on here. It probably is going to be one that I read in the autumn time, but it's just a reminder that I do actually need to pick this one up. This is the book that inspired Disney film of Hunchback of Notre Dame, so it would be really interesting to actually read the original, because Hunchback of Notre Dame is probably one of my favourite original Disney films. It was brilliant. Last couple, so we have Awakenhurst by Michelle Paver. This one's literally on here just to remind me to read it. I've said before, it sounds like a book that I'm absolutely going to love. It's got everything that I like about it. It's gothic and murderous obsession. That's all I normally need to know to pick up a book, because that just sounds perfect, but I keep putting it off. So this is a reminder to actually pick it up. And I think, again, if I haven't read this by the time I'm 30, I will be unhauling it, because I do just keep putting it off for ridiculous reasons. So that's something I want to get in the habit of, is if I'm not reading these books, even if I've picked them up, what's the point of keeping them? So that's another way of doing it. So I've kind of put a couple of videos into this one because a lot of people do these books will self-destruct within 1 year. Some of these books are basically that for this video. And then another reread, the final book, Jane Eyre. Oh, I adore Jane Eyre, and I do stand by that Jane Eyre is my absolute favourite classic, but I haven't read it in years. Absolute years. I've read retellings, I've read the manga version, I have read Jane Slayer, which is a Jane Eyre retelling just with vampires and stuff, but I haven't read the original, and I need to. I need to correct that. I need to stop being scared, because that's the reason why I haven't been picking it up. I need to, and this edition is just, oh, beautiful deckled edges. It's just, I have about 4 different editions of Jane Eyre. I love it so much, but before I can buy another edition of Jane Eyre, because I do collect them, I need to actually reread it and prove that it's still my favourite classic to myself, because I do keep putting it off. And yeah, we just need to reread this. It's amazing, it's perfect. I just need to prove that it's still up there. Like with Name of the Wind, that is still my favourite fantasy book. I need to see if Jane Eyre still holds the title for my favourite classic. But there we have it. I actually did this quicker this time, I think, because I feel like I rambled less, but it's me, so who actually knows. I had planned to actually start editing this video before I realised that the video that I filmed was no longer on my memory card, so I must have accidentally deleted it. But at least it's done. It's refilmed. We've done it. We even did it before my chai got cold. Perfect. Okay, I'm going to start editing this. If you made it this far, then let's put a book stack emoji, because 30 books is going to be a lot. I mean, I know I can get through that in a year, but whether I get through all of these books, who knows? Again, let me know what books I should be prioritising out of this, or what books you think I really shouldn't bother picking up or anything like that. I'm always interested in starting a conversation with you guys. If you have enjoyed it, then don't forget to give it that thumbs up, subscribe, comment to let me know that you're here. Social media links will be linked below, and I will of course catch you in the next one.